And are you refreshed? Good. Now what?
Hello. So, I've learned a lot from you, and I've really embraced the fact that I can create anything. The thing that I struggle with now is that there's so much I want to do.
If you could get a glimpse into your vortex, you would realize what an understatement that is. But what happens is, as you then just work to get into that receiving mode, that vortex and law of attraction will deliver it to you in a perfect unfolding. You don't have to be the one that figures out the order of things, or the how, or the where, or the when, or the who. Just get in the receptive mode and let what you've put in there occur to you. Yeah.
So, another thing I was kind of curious about is, I know there's power in gratitude, and I feel really aligned.
There's not nearly as much power in gratitude as there is in appreciation.
Okay.
Tell others. Gratitude has mixed in the vibration what you've overcome. Appreciation is pure. Big difference. Big vibrational difference. It's the difference between compassion and empathy. It's that big of a difference.
Can you explain that a little more? I'm not understanding.
While it's not always true, most people, when they say, I'm grateful for something, they are grateful that they've overcome something.
Sure.
And what they have overcome is still active in their vibration, so there is resistance in it. It's like homesickness. That's where home makes you sick. Homesickness is where you're longing for something. It's that feeling of nostalgia is not a pure vibration. You see what we're getting at? And so where in appreciation, you're looking forward and you're in alignment. It's a different frequency.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So specifically, when I say that I feel like there's so much that I can do, right now I have this awesome job at Ecolab, and I feel really blessed to be there. I love the guys who I work with, but I also feel like I'm destined to be a public speaker. And I also feel like I'm destined to write a book, you know, because I've experienced a lot of contrast, and now I have a lot of bliss because of that.
The word destined is just fine. And we are in agreement with you about all of that. And you are experiencing what we would consider to be the perfect balance of things. Happy where I am and eager for more. Happy where I am and understanding that there is so much more. And happy with what is, while I can feel so much more in the vortex that will come out into experience where I realize it too. You know how you feel about that? You know how you're feeling right now about that? This is the way that we always want you to feel. Okay. Happy about what is, and eager for the next book, and eager for the next experience, and eager for the next, and eager for the next, because there will continually be more. No topping off, no complacency. Once you understand what you understand, it can always feel like that. And that's that sweet spot that we've been describing. Because once you've got the basics down, and you do, and once you've filled your vortex and are continuing to add to it, and you've done that and are, and once the vortex is doing what it does, because step 2 is taking place without you, and so the vortex is churning and becoming more, and then you're doing step 3, getting into the receptive mode. From that receptive mode, then just more realization, more, never ending.
So I feel the alignment, and constantly I feel like I'm on the right path. And when I think about public speaking or writing a book, I think, well, I'd have so much more time to do that if I wasn't working at Ecolab. But then I ask myself, am I supposed to quit my job?
No.
I get no. Right.
But here's the thing. Almost everyone who does quit their job to write a book still doesn't write the book. Because the book will write itself when it's ready to be written. And it doesn't matter what else you're doing. The book will just occur to you. When it occurs, write it down. And when it occurs, write it down. And when it occurs, write it down. But almost everyone who quits doing what they're doing and sits down to write a book has writer's block. Because the book wasn't flowing. And they're thinking, well, if I were not doing that. It doesn't take that much time to write a book. It takes the right headspace. It takes the right alignment. It takes the right intention, you see. Yeah. Books will flow. It's like we often say to you, We're eager to talk with you about whatever you want to talk about, and don't worry about us. We'll wedge our message in the crack. The book will wedge its message in the crack, no matter what other things you're doing. And the more engaged you are in the more things, the better the book will be.
Interesting. Thank you. So, part of the confusion comes from, I want to know if I'm supposed to pick, right? So I know that I'm not supposed to quit my job. I've gotten that answer.
Well, of course you're supposed to pick, but here's what picking feels like. It feels like, yes! That's what picking feels like. It doesn't feel like,
Should I? Okay.
This or that, that's limp. Don't pick either. But yes!
Yeah. Like I know it's supposed to happen, but I feel like I'm waiting for something.
Nothing is supposed to happen, but the reason that you're using the words supposed to happen is because you can feel what you put into the vortex coming in. You can feel what you've added to it. Your vortex is calling you, and that's why you have that feeling. The vortex is getting ready for you, and as you're getting ready to be in the receptive mode, it will occur, and no one could talk you out of it. The conversation would go something like this: Abraham, I've got this book that is just blasting through me, and I so want to do that, and so I'm going to quit my job. And we would not have said a word. We wouldn't have said, no, don't quit your job. Same question, but a very different answer because a very different vibration is going on.
Okay.
Jerry and Esther have a friend from a long time. His name is Alan Cohen. He's a wonderful author. And he wrote a book called Why Your Life Sucks and What to Do About It. And the thing that stood out most to Jerry and Esther in the book was a segment on hell yes. And what he said was, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. But yes. And that's that receptive mode. That's that being in the receptive mode where it's really flowing. Because if you're in the receptive mode and the energy is flowing, then your decisions have power and energy and satisfaction. But if you're trying to talk yourself, if you've got this long list of pros and cons, or you're comparing between this and this and this and this and this, there's not energy behind it. And so in those cases, you could pick anything and it would be the same amount of mediocrity. Or you could tune yourself in and follow your hell yeses, you see. And when you think about it, so you can apply that to almost anything, to furthering of your career, to satisfying your reason for being here, to whether to go have dinner with someone or not. In other words, if it feels like, yes, go. If it doesn't, then say, catch you later.
That's how I ended up here, actually. It was spontaneous. We drove from Minneapolis, and I was just kind of debating whether I should go or not, whether it was meant to be, and it was Saturday, and I kind of wanted to go to...
Meant to be. Nothing is meant to be. There's a whole lot that's meant to be in the vortex, but meant to be when? That yes means meant to be now.
Right.
That means something meant to be now, but nothing is meant to be other than what you mean it to be. In other words, nobody's meaning it to be for you. We're not sitting around, oh, let's put some meant to be's in his vortex. You put them all there. Let's wake this guy up. He's missing all the meant to be's.
Yeah.
Not like that at all. What happens is there's a whole lot that is meant to be by you. A whole lot that is meant to be by you that you meant to be before you even got into this body, and you've meant to be since you've got into this body, and it is growing, and the harmony of it is staggering. There is so much that is meant to be. But your work is to get into that receptive mode, and the things that are meant to be now, wild horses couldn't keep you from them. There's no possible way that you're not going to do that when you're in the receptive mode and the idea flows, because the energy that creates worlds has sent the idea forth, and you have received it and realized it, and on that kind of momentum, it's for sure going to be satisfying, and it's for sure going to be fun, and it's for sure going to be productive in the way that you want it to be, and it's for sure going to manifest into something that is discernible. We really like it when you are able to feel the correlation between that feeling and then what came out of it.
I think when I say meant to be, what I feel like I mean is I'm in perfect alignment with it, and there's signs all over the place, and it's like, okay, yes, I'm supposed to do this. And
Well, that's that sweet spot of unfolding that we love. The timing of things is what makes you feel your power, and the being there for the timing. It's like if you're zigging and zagging and zigging and zagging and not ever quite connecting, then you're sort of going through the motions of life, but you're not tuned in, tapped in, turned on. Where if you take the time to get into alignment and then you follow those impulses, then, and the more you do it as you are, the more you recognize what the feelings are. So then if it's not one of those feelings, then you don't get too actualized around it. You let the energy move you rather than you trying to move the energy.
my last question. I really appreciate everything, honestly.
So we are really fine-tuning here because you've got it going on.
I'm so happy. Every day I'm just blissful, and I feel like there's a contentment that comes from just
Knowledge.
Yes.
When you feel like that, you know what's going on. You've closed the gap so consistently and have allowed your inner being to flow with you. And so that happy is how your inner being feels. Now your inner being feels that way whether your gap's closed or not. But when you feel that way, then you're feeling how your inner being feels. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? You're up to speed. You are one with that knowing, free feeling, powerful, satisfied being that you are.
So when you get to that point, is there any questions, or maybe this is just for me personally, but if this benefits anybody else, I hope it does. Is there any questions that I'm not already asking that I should be asking to be able to access more power or to live more magic?
Here's the thing. You're missing a vital point here in looking at it in that way. Isn't life causing you to continue to ask the questions? So haven't the questions been asked, and aren't they part of the mix? So asking more questions is not where it's at for you right now, although you can't help but do it. But getting in the receptive mode, in other words, you want to ask yourself, is the receptive mode the asking question mode, or is the receptive mode hearing the answers to questions that are already active? Can you feel the difference between step 1 and step 3? Life's going to cause you to continue to ask the questions. That's why step 5 is so wonderful. That's why it's so wonderful when in the receptive mode, your inner being is calling you through a little bit of contrast, which causes you to ask more questions. But to just sit around and try to think of questions for the sake of progress, or questions for the sake of promotion, or for the sake of doing a better job of it, that's counterproductive, because that's lack-based, as if I'm not in this perfect, unfolding, free-flowing place, and you are.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Not everyone knows it makes sense, but you do. Something more?
I don't think so.
Really good. Thank you. Really good.